Over the past decade, the New York Knicks franchise has seen very little, if any, success, and since the Carmelo Anthony era ended, they have wallowed in the bottom of the Eastern Conference. As since 2013, they've won a total of 1 playoff game and 0 total series. And when it comes to big-time marquee franchises that stink for an extended time period, you have what I call the Dallas Cowboys effect. In essence, what happens, any move this team makes, good or bad, they're going to get clowned for it in the moment. They draft a player high in the lottery, they're going to get clowned for it. They make a trade, they're going to get clowned for it. They hire a coach, they're going to get clowned for it. They sign a free agent, they're going to get clowned for it. You get the picture. This so-called Dallas Cowboys effect was none more evident than when it came to Jalen Brunson signing with the Knicks this offseason. As Brunson up to this point was a pretty good NBA player, he had 1 year averaging 16 points, and that year's playoffs averaged 21 in a very impressive Western Finals appearance. Now, with that being said, Brunson, of course, was a big piece of that Mavericks team. But nobody, and I mean nobody, thought Brunson had the potential to be number 1 guy on a top 10 NBA team. And to Jalen's credit, after signing a 4-year, $104 million deal, he's proved everyone wrong. As after the initial signing, the overall narrative was simply shocking. Bleacher Report gave the signing a C grade, CBS gave it a D+, The Athletic called Brunson being Kyle Lowry 2.0 wishful thinking. By some networks, it was dubbed the worst gamble of the offseason, and you had Stephen A. Smith calling the Knicks a disaster and asking for KD and Kawhi Leonard in place of Brunson. That was the overall narrative in the moment after the Brunson signing. But now with hindsight looking back on it, this deal actually was a steal and an absolute bargain. As going into 2024-2025, this contract is only going to get better with time. And speaking for some big market teams like Knicks fans, at some point you can't go for the home run every single time. Pick up some solid players, some doubles, some triples, and sign someone like Brunson to change your franchise as well as the culture. The home run signing of Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, even a Dame Lillard will be a big splash in the moment, but long term, it might not work out as good as someone like Brunson on a cheaper contract. And speaking of big time moves when it comes to Knicks, not trading for Donovan Mitchell was a blessing in disguise, as the proposed trade they had to Utah would have gutted their team, their depth, and some of their great young players. That being RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Mitchell Robinson, and 3 unprotected first-round picks. Knicks fans back in the summer were pissed they didn't get Mitchell, but looking back on it, that is the best thing that could have happened. As individually speaking, Mitchell 100% is better than those players, but could a backcourt of Brunson and Mitchell be as successful minus the depth as the current Knicks team? In my personal view, I don't think so. As looking at Brunson, being the primary ball handler, facilitator, and even scorer, he was the biggest all-star snub this year, and in my opinion, the Knicks' best overall player. Averaging 24 points, 6 assists, 4 boards, on very impressive 49, 41, and 83 splits. Jalen Brunson's individual play had been simply fantastic, but for the Knicks, he filled their biggest void from the 2022 season, as that year, their main point guard duo was Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose, an aging backcourt that was hurt and was primarily score first. And when it comes to Brunson, he's not only a great scorer, but his playmaking and passing is highly underrated. And with a legit all-star next to Barrett and Randle, those guys primarily can go back to doing what they do best. As Randle in 2022 was playing point forward with the ball in his hands a lot. And I wouldn't say Brunson saved Randle's career or made Julius, but the impact Jalen's had on him is definitely quantifiable. As looking at Randle's scoring, he's up by 5 points per game. Field goal percentage up by 5%, 3 percentage also by 5%, and his turnovers are down. Yes, late in games sometimes you'll have the old Julius Randle, go ISO for 18 seconds, waste the shot clock, chuck up a 3, but this Randle compared to last year is night and day and not even the same player. And like I said before, when it comes to Brunson, late in games, he's a guy you want with the ball in control of the offense. As this year in the fourth quarters, he's averaging 5.4 points per game on 47% shooting with a plus-minus of plus 43, the highest on the Knicks team. Looking at recent NBA history, I don't think a free agent signing has been as perfect as Brunson going to the Knicks, as once again, he fit in perfectly, filled that void, and the RJ and Julius do what they do best. I understand Mitchell is the big-time flashy name, the flashy signing, but him on this Knicks team, I don't see them being the 5th seed heading into the playoffs. And one thing I have noticed with the talking heads at ESPN, even Fox Sports, when it comes to the Knicks not getting a player, they're always super critical, even years later. When it comes to Mitchell, Dame Lillard, John Morant, even Steph Curry. If any of those players has a great game, someone like Stephen A. Smith will clown the Knicks out of nowhere. I've seen it numerous times this season with John Morant and especially Donovan Mitchell. And for someone like Stephen A. Smith, I really do question, is he an actual Knicks fan? Because very rarely will acknowledge the Knicks are headed in the right direction. And for someone like him, he always wants the big-time signing, the mega contract, $200 million, and a superstar player. But someone like Brunson is proof, making smaller moves, taking 2 steps instead of 5, is actually better in the long run. And for Brunson currently, he's the 15th highest paid point guard in the NBA, once again a steal for legit all-star and number 1 option. And staying with Brunson for 1 second, in last year's playoffs, he showed flashes of his ability as a number 1 guy. As versus Utah, he averaged 27.8 points per game and held the fort down when Luka was injured. Those were tiny flashes, but absolutely nobody thought Brunson would be this good. And for Dallas, they lost Brunson for absolutely nothing. And later on down the line, they got Kyrie Irving, who isn't a guarantee, trading Dorian Finney-Smith, as will Spencer Dinwiddie. With hindsight being 2020, the Dallas Mavericks 100% are worse off for not signing back Brunson, and the Knicks had the steal of the offseason. And when it comes to the Knicks, basketball is better when the Knicks are good, the way baseball is better when the Yankees are good, and football is better when the Giants are good. And unlike 2021, this Knicks team, I think, is sustainable heading forward, with the emergence of IQ, the growth of Grimes, and getting Josh Hart in an absolute robbery. From a playoff perspective, this team has grit, toughness, shot makers, rim protectors, physical wings, and a guy in Brunson who can get his own shot and create shots late in games. And when it comes to a first-round matchup, most likely they'll be playing Cleveland without home court advantage. This series is going to be an absolute dogfight and a battle of Brunson versus Mitchell, and who is the real winner of the offseason moves. And in my personal opinion, home court advantage or not, this Knicks team is going to fight, scrap, and claw, and I think win that series versus Cleveland in a massive upset. And if they play Boston, Milwaukee, or Philly, 100% they're going to give those teams a run for their money. And I don't think they'd beat those teams, but coming out of that series, they would undoubtedly be hurt, banged up, and physically exhausted. So, in summary, Jalen Brunson has proved the media wrong at every turn, and his contract 100% was not a bad deal. And when it comes to the Knicks outside Sacramento, they're the biggest surprise in the NBA. And for someone like Fox and Brunson, those guys' impact on winning has been a welcome surprise. And no matter what happens in this year's playoffs, the Knicks undoubtedly were the winners of the offseason, and Jalen Brunson is an all-star player going forward. So, as always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.